What's going on, guys? Bob Buskirk here at ThinkComputers, and today I'm going to be showing you the Uefi BIOS on the Gigabyte Z97X-Gaming GT motherboard. Now, this BIOS should be pretty much the same throughout all of Gigabyte's Z97 lines. Of course, different skins and different things for the different style of motherboards, but it should be pretty much the same throughout. So when you go into the BIOS, this is what you're going to be brought to, and this is the startup guide. It's kind of an easy way to get through your settings. Of course, it looks really nice, and of course, you can use the mouse and everything like that. So we have a couple options here. The first one is our system language. Of course, you can set that to whatever language you want. We have our fast boot, so you can enable fast boot to get your system to boot faster. Of course, system time, you set your time and date. Boot sequence, of course, you can set your boot sequence however you want it, so you have your right boot drive. Integrated SATA controller, this will allow you to, of course, enable or disable it, and you can set your SATA mode, so IDE, AHCI, or RAID mode. Security, of course, you can set a user password, administrator password. Startup options. So what I'm going to show you here in just a little bit is the different modes. So of course, not all of your options are in the startup guide. So what you can actually do is you can set which one goes first. So there is a classic mode, which I'll show you. And then there is a smart tweak mode. There is a regular, and there's an HD. Of course, the HD is going to look better. But for whatever type of display you have, you can set that up for yourself. So that's what's going to load first. Of course, we can load our defaults, and we can save and exit. And what's great about this, it has all of those options that you kind of would want to change without having to get into the BIOS. So all of that is right here. Now you can either change this in the startup options, or you can just hit F2. And this is going to go to our classic mode, and this is the classic Uefi BIOS. If you're familiar with Gigabyte's Uefi BIOSes from before, this is kind of what you're looking at right here. But if we hit F2 again and give it a second, it's going to go into our smart tweak mode, and you can see this obviously looks a lot better than the original Uefi BIOS here. So in the smart tweak mode, over on the side here, we have our CPU status. You can see what your CPU is running at, your core ratio, your voltages, all of that, and you can see your CPU temperature and CPU fan speed. And if you have the optional fan connected, you can see that as well. You can see your memory status, so you can see how much memory you have installed, the frequency that's running at, the voltage, and your timings on both channels. Over here, you can see your system status. That will show your host clock, your voltages, your system temperature, your PCH temperature, and then all of your fan speeds. And then down the bottom here, we do have the information on the model of your motherboard, the BIOS version, all that stuff right in here, the information on your CPU. So a lot of information around here. And up top, you have a live fan speed, temperature, and voltage. So it shows it in real time and shows like a cool little graph here. So when you come in here, the first thing you'll see is your frequency. So of course, that is your CPU frequency, and you can also enable or disable your XMP profiles in this as well. And then you can go into your advanced CPU core settings. All the different settings for the CPU can be changed in here. If we go over to memory, you can select your XMP profile here as well and set up your different memory options. And then you can set up your timings on both channel A and channel B here. If we go into voltage, you can go ahead and change all of your voltages around. This is your advanced power settings, and then you can go into your CPU core voltage control, chipset voltage control, and memory voltage settings. So all right here, very easy to find. In miscellaneous, we have a couple things. We have, your PC slot configuration. You can set that up. DMI Gen 2 speed, again, you can set that up, and you can enable the 3D Mark 01 boost, which I don't know if anybody uses that anymore, but you can enable that. And then we have our PC health status, and what that will do is you can set up fan warnings or something like that. So say one of your fans dies, it will give you a warning when it turns off or goes below a certain RPM level, as well as temperature levels on different things. And then if we go to home here, what you can do is, for one, there's a performance tab here that will have some of the settings for your CPU base clock, your ratios, and all that right here. Standard, which is kind of just set up some of the options here, and then you can set these up so you can have different things here maybe you change your memory a lot, you can set up one that says memory for memory timings, all of that different stuff. If you go into recent, there's some of the recent things that I changed or options that I changed. And of course you can set up a favorites here and set up favorite options that will go in here, make them very easy to find. If there's something that you're changing a lot, you can go ahead and add it to your favorites. And of course, we have our save and exit. So this BIOS is pretty cool. It gives you a lot of different options. If you don't like this, these options, of course you can hit F2 and you can go right here into this. Like, this is a little shortcut menu for a lot of stuff. It makes it really easy. Now, if you don't like the newer BIOS or this, you can hit F2 again. And of course, we go into the classic BIOS that has a lot of different stuff in it, of course, that you can go ahead and change. And then we hit F2 again and we go into the Smart Tweak BIOS. It works really well. It's very snappy. Haven't had any issues with it. Everything is very easy to find. If you're not used to one BIOS, you can go ahead and switch between them. And of course, all of the settings are going to be the same. So you can find everything. It works really well. I really like it. Of course, it is in HD too, so it looks really nice. This Smart Tweak HD mode looks really good. So this has been our quick overview and trying to kind of show you what the Uefi BIOS is like on Gigabyte's Z97 motherboards. Now, if you have any questions on this BIOS or have anything you want to say about it, go ahead and leave it in the comments below. And remember, guys, if you like our videos, why don't you subscribe? Catch you guys later.